Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well today. In this video, we are going to be doing a little bit of speculating as to what features could possibly be coming next, when we might see them, and how they could affect the game. Before we get started, if you have been enjoying the content, feel free to subscribe. I have channel memberships open if you want to go the extra mile, and feel free to join the community Discord. I would love to have you there. Besides that, let's have some fun and speculate on some features coming to Star Citizen, hopefully in the near future. The reason I wanted to make this video comes from the fact that the feature talk within the community and from CIG has just been very lackluster and practically non existent. We basically only get our feature updates every month or so with the monthly reports, and that's really been about it for this year as a whole. Now, I know we're in the middle of this whole playability initiative, and whilst I think it's had incredible impacts on the overall quality of life of the game, I do think that overall the project feels a bit stagnant right now compared to what it has felt like in the past year and a half or so. So, to try and kind of bring some of that conversation back up, let's get this list started with one of the most important features, in my opinion, that being engineering and the systems attached to it, like life support and charge and drain. Engineering is something we were so close to getting in 4.0, but I am actually incredibly glad they delayed it. Based off of the monthly reports, it seems that much of the work done on this feature has been quality of life and or just bringing it to a better standard before it gets into our hands. It really seems like this feature was delayed mainly for stability when we got to 4.0 and also to make sure when it actually releases it isn't completely broken. If you think about it, if engineering released broken or super buggy, it would be practically impossible to play the game as it affects our one form of transportation. This is the one feature I am overly confident will make it into our hands in some way, shape, or form over this year. Engineering has been developed and tested for quite a long time now, and we even have seen the preparation for this feature in most ships already with the engineering screens and fuse slots. Now, based off of the progress tracker, it looks like this feature has work scheduled out until the end of May. This doesn't mean at all that we'll see it in the next few months, but it is a very clear sign that this feature is still being worked on. If CIG actually decides to use the EPTU this year, which I really hope they do, I highly expect that this feature will be the one we see in there first. For me personally, I'm super excited for engineering. I think it's going to bring some nice natural balancing to ships. It's going to give you a bit more purpose to those larger multi-crew ships as well. And the most important thing is the fact that your chances of exploding is going to go down tremendously compared to what it is currently in game. You should see some more players surviving combat scenarios and bringing their ship back to life and flying away. We'll see how it actually plays in real time whenever we get it in the game, but overall super excited for this feature and I would love to hear your thoughts about it down below. Now, the next feature that I want to talk about on this list is FPS radar and scanning. Now, I know a lot of people actually interpret this feature as just being FPS scanning, but this is actually a revamp to the scanning system across the board. This includes new delta signatures and hopefully overall improvements to the functionality of this feature. As we know, they just implemented our first dedicated tracker armor into the game, that being the anti armor, which will heavily utilize this feature. This is one we have consistently seen in monthly reports lately and is also on the progress tracker working up until the end of May. There really isn't a whole lot to say about this feature other than the fact that I think it will be ready in the near future. Whilst it won't be the most groundbreaking feature, I think it also has a lot of potential to provide more functionality to FPS gameplay across the board. Now, I know that there is some valid concern actually on the FPS scan side of things here with the fact that you can kind of get wall hacks on NPCs and enemy players, but it does seem like there's also some good balancing here. The way CIG has stated it is that if you send out an active scan and get information through walls about NPCs and players, just as much as you get that information, the enemies and NPCs will also get that information about you. I'm not sure if this will come in the fact that your silhouette will just automatically pop up for players, or there'll be some sort of indicator on your screen showing that you are in an active scan. But regardless, it does look like there's going to be some balancing here. Something really unique, though, that they mentioned in one of the latest monthly reports is that they are working on a handheld jammer of some sort. Now, this is something we have no information on, but I assume that it'll either make you invisible to someone else's scan or just completely screw up their scan and make it practically useless for them. Regardless, I think it's going to be a nice addition to balancing when it comes to the FPS scan side of things. And overall, I think I'm just really excited for this feature as a whole. Not only will it improve the FPS side of things, but ships as well, giving you delta signatures and giving you just a bit more information to work with. I would love to hear your thoughts down below on this one because I think it's going to be a really nice addition to the game. Moving on to one expectation that still is somewhat realistic, I think there is a chance we see the item misfire system plus wear and tear. Just like the past two features, this one is also a part of CitizenCon 2023's missing feature list and is seemingly being worked on somewhat consistently behind the scenes. This is one of those features that, though seems like we could have gotten back in 3.23, seemingly was put on the back burner for a long while. And whilst it wasn't the most incredible feature, it will provide more value in which guns you decide to pick, as well as what you repair. Now, based off of the February monthly report, it looks like the system is still getting some love, and also that system is being unified with the component misfire as well, so that it all kind of stays within the same bubble. I suspect that this feature will probably sit alongside engineering, but regardless, I am really excited to see some of the variables we'll have to consider with this. I am very curious as to how you feel about this feature. Personally, I'm excited because it brings a bit more immersion and it just gives me more to critically think about when I'm preparing for a mission or objective, which I always love in this game. But I do know that there is some valid concerns about the possibility of like having a misfire during a very important firefight. I think that'll probably be a bit more obvious as to when your gun will misfire just to keep balancing in check a bit more, but we will have to see and test it out when it hits the EPTU or hopefully when it hits the EPTU at some point. Regardless, so I think it'll be a nice addition to the game, and I'm excited to see what it does. Now, believe it or not, these are the only three features that I actually have a decent bit of confidence could release in 2025. But I did want to sit here and talk about a couple bonus additions to this list that are probably very unrealistic. But I did want to give my thoughts as to when we might see them and the possibility that we could get them in the near future. First up is crafting. Crafting is a weird one. It seems that based off the monthly reports, it is actually a functioning feature, just simply lacks an official UI. And based off the progress tracker as well, it has less time dedicated to it than things like base building. Now, that is zero evidence as to when this feature could drop, but I think that this is one of those features that CIG is probably keen to get into the verse. It falls into that category of things that are going to be critical to creating a built out and enjoyable game experience, and I certainly hope that CIG understands that and has crafting as a priority. Now, I also have to mention base building as well here. Base building is a weird feature in the fact that it has been developing for a while. It's gotten some really good work done, as we can see at CitizenCon 2024, but also at CitizenCon 2024. And something that I should probably completely ignore, but I kind of have to mention, is the fact that at the very end of the show and whatnot, Chris Roberts said that alongside monster hunting, base building will be coming in the next 12 to 18 months. Now, again, that time frame is about as trustworthy as me saying that like 1.0 is releasing tomorrow. So don't really trust any of that information, but it is extremely clear that base building is one of those things that they are trying to get out the door whenever it is ready. They have ships working in the background, like the Starlancer BLD, the Argo CSV-FM. Those are base building vehicles that actually are used to create buildings. So it's weird. They have a lot of stuff working right now that we know about that is going towards base building, but we also have no idea when that should be releasing. So definitely a bit of a weird feature here. I would love to see this thing by the end of the year in the EPTU. Do I think we will? Probably not, but I hope we at least get some more information about it at CitizenCon as to when it might release. And generally, I am super excited for this. So I had to, at the very least, put it on the list. Moving on, something I wanted to actually mention before we got to our last feature that could release in 2025. I wanted to address the updated flight model with control surfaces, as well as the updated quantum travel experience with quantum boosting. Now, Yogi talked about this actually a few months ago, where he mentioned that these are all going to be in the same patch. So when they do release, they will release together. Now, the bad news is the fact that it seems that from what Yogi said, the updated flight model is nowhere near ready for testing, which could mean that, we wait another year, we wait another half a year. I'm not entirely sure. Honestly, I would suspect that it's probably going to come at some point in 2026 before Squadron releases, but really it is up in the air. I think the best thing to take out of it is that they are at least working on it and they will all release together. So I'm very excited for this feature. It's probably one of my most anticipated, but for that reason, I can't really say that it'll come in 2025, but you never know. Now, the last feature I did want to mention here that might release in 2025 is the updated social tools, or at least some of them. Now, in 4.1.1, we actually have our first step towards getting some of those in. This is by CIG making it cross platform between Spectrum and Star Citizen so you can communicate on either platform and be able to actually be in the same channels. Now, I think for the most part, almost no one is going to use this within the game whenever it releases in 4.1.1, but it is something that we really need to consider because it's very foundational tech to the other features that will release down the line. The statement they made regarding this updated feature coming into 4.1.1 gave me some confidence that they're at least full time working on these social tools. It really does seem like they want to get them in the game, but there is nothing really outside of that to say that they will release this within 2025. It does seem like, once again, it is kind of a foundational feature for Star Citizen as a whole. Getting better social tools is something that I think is needed as soon as possible, but at the very, very least, we have good news that they are starting to get this process into the game, even if it isn't very helpful in the current state. Now, this is where I want to wrap up the video. I know that there's a ton of features I could have talked about here, but I really wanted to be somewhat realistic at the start of the video and then have a little bit more fun towards the end. But I know that there's a ton of things we could have talked about. So I want to ask you the question: what features do you hope could release by the end of 2025? Do you think any of my initial expectations are partially correct, or do you have your own guesses that are completely different than mine? Regardless, I would love to hear your thoughts on anything we discussed today, and I really appreciate you sticking around. I know this is a little bit of a different video. I know talking about features is a little weird right now, but really wanted to just get the conversation going back up again, see if we can have some fun discussion here. Not really too serious of a video, but again, speculation is speculation. You never really know at this point. Besides that, thank you so much for sticking around and watching till the end. I really do appreciate you. Again, I'd love to have you in the community Discord. A link to that will be down below. But regardless, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.